Ladies and gentlemen, the future of inclusive growth in MENA, a dialogue with tomorrow's leaders, will be starting in 5 minutes. Please take your seats and switch your phones to silent mode.
السيدات والسادة الحضور، الندوة القادمة ستبدأ في غضون 5 دقائق. نرجو منكم الالتزام بمقاعدكم وتفعيل خاصية الوضع الصامت في هواتفكم.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto the stage the Managing Director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, and your moderator, Jihad Azur, and the panelists for this event.
السيدات والسادة الحضور، نرجو منكم أن ترحبوا بضيوف.
Please welcome the guests of this symposium.
Am I here or here? Nadia, which side do you prefer, this or this? Message to young people is be press for the world to be a better place for everyone.
Good afternoon.
Jihad, if you don't scare them, we will have audience.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session on the future of inclusion in MENA.
No, I don't think so. I think it's
I will be very brief. This is a video that we saw that is very inspiring. And I would like to say no comments. Would like to hear your comments, Kristalina, on this, on the people around us, on the energy that you see in the room.
I want to thank everybody for being here. We live in a world that has been difficult over the last years. What do we hope for? Young people to define a better future for this world. And fortunately, in Africa, on the African continent, in the Arab world, in MENA, we have plenty of very talented young people. So the world is lucky. It may have difficulties, but it also has you. And our job today is to shake up our thinking. So we look up to you to share with us, what is your vision? What do you expect from us, the older generation? Where do we fail you? Where do we do well? And how to do more of it? I know that my colleagues from the IMF really like these sessions because we at the IMF, shall we say, are on the higher end of age. Therefore, we need young people to shake us up. So when we go back to Washington, we bring freshness of ideas, and we are vibrant as you are. So, Jihad, run the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We at the fund and as economists, we have done over the last few years, I would say more than a decade, a lot of work on building our knowledge on how we can increase growth, how economies can create jobs, how we can make growth more inclusive. What are the ways that government could intervene in order to create opportunities? But we thought, let's talk to those who create opportunities. Let's talk to those who lead the future, who create jobs, who innovate. And I'm happy that we have here a group of very young, promising entrepreneurs who represent the region and who represent hope in this region. Despite all the challenges that every day we are going through, I think with the people here on this couch, we can believe in the future. Let me start with Galia. Galia, you're from a neighboring country, very nice country, from Tunisia.
Yes.
You are an entrepreneur. You co-founded Comporol, which provides solution around waste management by promoting sustainable and eco-friendly practices, and you are providing this service in MENA and Sub-Saharan Africa. I would like you to share with us your experience of how we can, innovate, invent, create jobs, and what are the issues and the hurdles you face?
Yes, thank you, Jihad, for this amazing presentation. Personally, the main challenges I face is including youth in professional life. I often see young, motivated, talented, committed to environment and creative young people on the lookout for better opportunity abroad Tunisia, leaving Tunisia, brain drain phenomena. I think that we are all a generation of educated with internet, and boundaries and barriers, countries' barriers do not exist for us. And looking for traveling for work or other life experience is easy for us. But when we go further of this reason of the departure of youth from Tunisia, the issues are the same. An incredibly low administrative procedures for everything. Currently, lack of financement. A banking system that does not favor entrepreneurship at any sort. And the deterioration also of our quality of life and access to public services, such as transport, which could be very unsafe for young women. Me, like many of my generation, we returned to Tunisia because in 2015 there were a vibrant movement, social, political movement, and we are kind of disappointed, or it's kind of disillusionment of the early years of the revolution when we had big dreams. Mm-hmm. But added to this also, there is the world economic crisis, the pandemic, mm-hmm. and of course the climate change that affect our agriculture and food security. But in Tunisia has always been an agriculture country. We have the know-how, we have the good practices, the agricultural good practices. And this is why I've launched Camporol, which tackle both waste management systems and also agriculture issues. And even with all the work we're doing for raising awareness and education, we like a drop in the ocean, because the social and environmental challenges are so enormous and deep. And we have to work, and we will work on it. And as you said on your last panel, if there is a will, there is a way.
Yep. Thank you very much. If there is a will, there is a way. I would like to recognize the presence of my good friend Marwan Abbasi, the governor of Central Bank of your country, of Tunisia, who is with us this afternoon. Kristalina, you will be seeing a lot of policymakers this week. Any comment on what you have heard about issues in terms of access to business, access to opportunities?
It is very clear that the responsibility of policymakers is to create an environment for young people to flourish. And actually, we heard what are the barriers, complicated procedures.
Yes.
You cannot find your way through maze of regulations. Lack of access to finance. You cannot make your contribution to society because you don't have prior history of borrowing, therefore you're not eligible for a loan.
Exact.
And above all, that sense that things are stagnating, that we are not moving forward, we are marching in the same place. So what I would be telling policymakers here starts from a very, very important message. if we want to live in a prosperous world in the 21st century, we have to unleash the tremendous human potential of Africa. Why? Because when you look at the trends over the next 50 years, what is going to happen? China is already picking a top of population growth. They're going to decline, they're aging and shrinking. Europe has been doing it now for some time. North America does have Latin America. There is some reservoir of youth, but not huge. Where is the talent of our planet? In Africa. Africa is the only place where young people would be coming eager to work, eager to contribute. So unleash the potential of Africa. What does it mean for policymakers to be in Africa, to be very mindful of what they have done and not done, correct these mistakes? And also for those who have held money outside of Africa, believe in the continent. Open up your eyes. You want to have expansion? Go to Africa. And we, from our side, we would do our part to provide more financing to Africa, to MENA, the Arab world, the African continent, and loudly talking about the importance of eliminating the barriers Galia talked about, because it is not just for the young people, it is for all of us. That sounds okay?
Yes, I hope so.
So I have her vote. Do I have your vote? If I go like this in the meetings, do I have your vote? Okay.
Thank you.
Wait a second. I want to test the audience. Those of you who are under 30 years of age, raise your hand.
Wow.
Whoa, we have a very good, youthful population here. Now, the rest of us that are above, maybe I should have put the line at 40. Too late. Well, I'm going to do one thing that I'm not supposed to do. I'm going to disclose my own age. Do you know how old I am? I'm dragging the average age of the fund down to more. I'm 70 years old, but I believe in what Mark Twain is saying about age. Age is a matter of mind. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
Great. We have new metric for age with you is energy. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Galia. One of the issues that we always face is the gap between women and men in terms of access to opportunities. And usually this kind of issue aggravates after shocks. We saw this after COVID. There is always a risk after the earthquake here to see more difficult comeback for women in terms of livelihood, etc. I would like to call on my colleague, Taha, who is an economist. He just finished his master's degree in economics, and he is working on issues of inequality, how to address inequality, and how to provide more opportunities for women. We have done a study a few years ago that shows that for MENA, we can create $1 trillion of output by reducing the gap, the gender gap, by 50%, not 100% with emerging markets. Therefore, the potential is huge. What could you tell us after this earthquake that we saw that created huge emotion and also created a strong response by not only the authorities but also the Moroccan people, which I would like to salute you and others, people like you in civil society who did great job over the last 4 weeks. We were this morning with Kristalina visiting the affected region, and we were impressed by the build back. what can be done and what are the lessons that we should learn in order in the building back we address this issue of gender gap.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jihad, for your presentation, for your introduction. Well, the recent devastating earthquake in the House region of Morocco has revealed the deep-seated problems of poverty, inequality, and vulnerability in our society. Indeed, the region of the county of El House is one of the poorest in Morocco, according to the 2014 recension. And this also highlights the fact that vulnerable members of our society have a few shock reserves and safety nets to cope with such a disasters. People in the House region or other rural areas in Morocco are living from agriculture. So they are suffering from climate change. They are suffering during dryness of loss of food, loss of water, and losses of income. And also in cities, the vulnerable members are suffering for prices increasements due to climate change and also due to conflicts in the international area. Well, also these people, they work in informal sector without social protection, and this makes the situation even worse for them. Not only in the last earthquake, but also in the COVID-19, also in the different shocks that our countries, all the MENA region countries are received. Well, this is making it more important for the countries to create fiscal spaces and fiscal rooms to prioritize spendings to address these issues of poverty, inequality, and vulnerability in our societies. And talking about the rebuilding after the earthquake, well, we should rebuild sustainably, not only rebuilding damaged infrastructure, but also rebuilding resilience in the future for the upcoming, I don't know, upcoming shocks, upcoming earthquake, I don't know. So we should plan the reconstruction according to minimizing future risks in the future, in the upcoming years. And also, we should promote, well, countries should promote formalization in employment and also removing barriers of women employment in the labor and participation in the labor market, because women's participations in the labor market improve the resilience of households by providing a supplement revenue and also investing in the children human capital. And this builds a resilience of households and then a resilience of the society. And also, this will lead to a generation, a productive generation, and then a resilient generation in the future. And we will break the intergenerational poverty, because it's very important for developing countries. Well, one last thing that the earthquake highlights is the Moroccan solidarity model. I think it's very important to talk about this, because from the first hour after the earthquake, a wave of compassion and solidarity swept all the country. Everyone, thousands of Moroccans at home and abroad, come together in their own way to support the victims. And this was an embodiment of nation collective resilience in the midst of crisis management. And I think that should be applauded.
Yes.
Taha, thank you very much. Any comment, or I go to, yeah.
But what you said is so true. When we talk about resilience, what do we mean? Well, first, resilient people that are educated, healthy, and can rely on social protection in difficult times. Second, resilient society, not just a resilient economy that has strong macroeconomic fundamentals. This is necessary, but it goes beyond that. A resilient society is one in which there is a sense of fairness and solidarity among communities, among people, is strong. And three, we need a resilient planet, one that can sustain humankind for generations to come. When we look ourselves in the mirror, what we see is our generation, on many counts, has done well. We work hard. We made the world richer. We are more productive. But we have damaged our climate. We have tolerated an increase in inequality, makes the rich richer, leaves the poor behind in so many places. So we have to be more ambitious as a generation to correct those, to make a genuine commitment to fairness, because in a world of more frequent shocks, we're stronger how? When there is fairness on which we rely, and there is community spirit of solidarity within countries, across countries. I'm very worried about one thing that you touched upon, and it is intergenerational equality. My grandparents were living very simple, not very rich life. They were not well educated. My grandmother didn't have any education. My grandfather had 4 years of schooling, read all the books in the library, nonetheless. My mother and my father, they both had high school education. My father had some additional technical skills education. Then comes my generation. I am the first in my family to have a PhD. The whole family came from all over Bulgaria to celebrate it. I have better lives than my parents. What would happen to my daughter? What would happen to my grandchildren? Do I have the confidence that they will have better life than me? I can only have this confidence if we all work for that resilient society that is fair and inclusive. And we unleash your potential, the potential of the people that are younger than 70 in this room. And we keep the 70-year-old accountable for doing all we can for the world to be a better place for our children. So thank you for your message to us.
Thank you very much. Do all we can. And this is the question that I will ask Teslim Zain from Mauritania. How we can? This is the question, how can we do things? Let's move to implementation.
Yeah.
You have worked as consultant for the World Bank and also worked with the private sector, chambers of commerce. How practically we could implement in an environment where maybe the infrastructure is not great and the regulatory framework is not the best?
Yeah. So the question is, how do we transition from
Yes.
policies into actual implementation?
Yes.
And that's a very vague and complex subject. But I'll take it from two main points that I care a lot about: data and social dialogue, social buy-in. So for data, and this is a very important topic and point of interest for me, is we can no longer have policies that are drafted without no data to back it up. We cannot have any more no monitoring or evaluation of the implementation of policies, projects, etc. And we cannot have any more policies that are implemented without ensuring that are implemented in a transparent and in a very open way. And I know that data can be scary. In a lot of countries, we don't have the culture of data, but data do not mean spreadsheet, Excel, do not mean having a survey. Data can be a pilot that worked well. Data can be something that worked well, a pilot, a project, etc. The second point that I will point in is social buy-in and dialogue. So when we want to do policy for youth, let's discuss with youth. If we want to have a policy with, I work in the startup part, so I work with startups, with incubators. Discuss with the startup, discuss with the incubators. What do they want? Do they want just, let's say, finance, access to finance is subject we always talk about, but we do not only want access to finance, we want access to markets. In small markets like Mauritania, we want regional integration, because we know that our market is very small and is not enough, at least for our startups and SMEs. And because I don't like negativity, I'll give a more positive example. So I'm a head of an incubator in Mauritania, and we just have our startup approved by the government in the last month. And what I liked about this process is that it was a very inclusive one. So the discussion started very early on with the incubators, with the other private sector that are not startup SMEs. And this led to let's say, a startup act that is more adapted to our context and local context and our needs. So I think in this day and age, and Alia mentioned it, is that we are internet educated. Even if you don't have an education, you have access to internet. You can see what's happening elsewhere. You can see the opportunities that you could be accessing elsewhere. Our leadership cannot just do anymore just a strategy on paper. They need a clear ambition for the youth, and this ambition needs to be concrete, inclusive, and backed with data.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kristalina.
Well, what can I say? I agree. I'm a big believer in data. Data helps you make good decisions. Data, if you take it seriously, can guide you the right way. I also believe that in the world we live today, data can be collateral.
Yeah.
We can use the digital technology to make it possible for Galia to borrow on the basis of data that she's generating every single moment. So I think not enough has been done to make sure that access to the internet, digital mobility, ability to participate in trade of services from Tunisia, you don't have to go somewhere else,
Yes.
and the right of individuals to use their own data for their benefit. And this is an area, we will talk about it at the annual meetings, where we see tremendous potential to unleash entrepreneurial talent. So bravo, well said. And now the task is for us to get it done.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let me go back to this issue of gender gap. If we can, at the end of those annual meetings, at least for MENA, move the needle on how to support better inclusion for youth because of the high level of unemployment and increase women participation, I think we would have achieved something in terms of inclusion. Nadine, I will come to you now. You come from Jordan, a country that has high level of unemployment at the youth level, but also has a very well-educated, talented young generation, and the women of Jordan are successful. I would like, based on your experience, because you are an investor, therefore you are on the ground, tell us a bit more how concretely one can scale up women's participation. What are the issues that would require policies to support that? And how an institution like the fund, when we design programs, when we provide policy support to countries, we can help in increasing the level of women's participation.
Thank you, Jihad. Thank you for your question. I want to tell you, on the micro level, I worked closely, and my team at Amam Ventures, we have worked closely with hundreds of SMEs and tech-enabled SMEs, and we've spoken with the tech startups. So we've gained a pretty good insight on all of these companies, their needs and their opportunities and their weaknesses. We have a country with 60%, over 60% of the country are youth under the age of 30. They are incredibly smart and intelligent. If I want to focus on the women in specific, if you are starting your entrepreneurial project, you can never achieve it and grow it if you do not have the passion. And passion is something that none of us can provide. Not a capacity building can provide, a program or funding can provide. But we have a community full of passionate young people who want to start their projects, and more often than not, you see that these projects are socially driven. These projects are impactful in a way that makes the world a better place. Moving on to the next stage, which is them running their entrepreneurial projects and growing them at a sustainable level. We see a lot of them have mastered the craftsmanship entrepreneurship of building their products and services, but they need a lot of support in running the business. So the financial analysis, the marketing, how to run a team, how to lead it, how to grow your market into other markets, whether geographically, whether in your services or your products. So we have seen that these companies, and especially the ones that are women-led, they tend to need a lot of support in terms of managing a business. And that's where some of our programs tackle it. If I want to say, where do we need support in or more support in, I would tell you that we have a problem in the gender gap relatively that starts at the pipeline level. So it's not just that we have gender bias when it comes to investing in women-led businesses, but we also have issues at the pipeline. The pipeline itself has a lack of women-led businesses or women co-founded businesses. So this is a problem that we have seen directly and firsthand. And if I were to, say some components that on a macro level that have been shortfalling on the Middle East specifically, we have $1.16 trillion invested in impact investments, which is worldwide, but only less than 2% or 2% of it is dedicated for the Middle East. And that's a tough number to look at because impact investment is extremely important for the region. Depending on VCs that are investing in companies, looking at them as unicorns is not a sustainable solution on its own. We need to invest in the impactful brick and mortar traditional SMEs, as well as these, tech-enabled SMEs that are really empower youth, hire a lot of people, and bring about more growth within the economy in a way that benefits the community at large.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Kristalina?
Well, the point that some small support in management, accounting, keeping the books, marketing, can go a long way to lift up a business. This is proven time and again. And in some countries, we see policymakers acting on that. I saw it in Rwanda, I saw it in Kenya, I saw it actually in Egypt, in creating space where entrepreneurs can reach out and get this support so they can grow. The problem, I think, is it is still flowers blooming here and there, but we don't have a bouquet. And Jihad, we need to take it upon us to more systematically present the evidence and get more, maybe in partnership with the World Bank, get more support for this breeding ground. When it is there, good things happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
No, I think it's...
Round of applause.
Okay. I kept Ahmed till the end because Ahmed has a very nice story. I will ask you in Arabic, but let me first introduce you. Ahmed is an agriculture engineer, and he is a founder of By Farm, an app and agriculture company in Yemen. He helps farmers in Yemen, and I think this is a message of hope that despite the challenges, the multiple challenges that country could face, one can still innovate and one can still do new things. Ahmed will speak in Arabic. For those who need translation, please put your headsets. Ahmed, إذا بتسمح لي بس أنا حابب.
Allow me, Ahmed, I need to understand. We as an establishment, we are among the major establishments, and we try to help countries that struggle with conflicts and that have fragile infrastructure. How do we build the economy? How do we help the daily economics when it comes to agriculture during this situation? I'm not going to talk about war. I am going to talk about optimism and opportunities, because the future leader has to have a positive outlook and to try to restore the happy Yemen, just like Madam Director General, Managing Director has seen in her last visit. We have a number of engineers that employed technology in the agricultural section by sitting with farmers, by understanding their daily and their seasonal problems, and a shortage of fuels. There has been a gap between the agricultural engineers and the farmers. There has been a gap between the farmers and the government. We have tried to deal with this problem. We have launched an application, a new application, which has helped to bring the farmers into the market of agricultural products. They have gained skill in negotiating with the middleman, because this supply, we have a daily bulletin of the prices of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis in our region. So now the farmers learn when to sell, when to plant, when to take advantage of the attractive prices. When you see that the prices are going low, so you stop certain crops. We have this benefit, this agricultural benefit, and also this application also has the optimal times for the different kinds of agricultural products, for the different harvests, using the fertilizers and employing modern experiments, and also adapting the current changes in order to face the challenge of climate change. We try to inform farmers that they can have certain crops during certain times in order to deal with the global warming and the climate change. Now we are trying to come up with a new application called Genwa, which is more like an umbrella for technological and agricultural products. It helps all kinds of investors to invest in Yemen in the agricultural sector, to see the profits and the losses across the day and across the week.
We just talked about that, the role of digital. It changes everything. If you have access to data, and you can act on that data, of course, prospects for farmers improve. We have seen that actually playing very well in many, many places. What is the barrier? The barrier is electricity not reliable, digital access to internet, not everywhere for everyone. These are, relatively speaking, solvable problems. In the world today, when the cost of renewable energy dropped significantly, when it is possible to have in every household in this sunny part of the world ability to at least charge your phone and have some light in the evening, when investment in digital connectivity has dropped dramatically, and in fact there was an analysis saying that for the whole continent of Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, Northern Africa, it would cost about $15 billion to bring every citizen, every business, every public service to connection to the internet. We owe it to people like you to remove these barriers, so what you do can be done everywhere. What you want to achieve, what you aspire for, what your work for women entrepreneurs can do. And of course, you get to clean up the whole world.
Yes,
I think time has come for some of these solvable problems to be solved. And here at the meetings, we have a chance to get that will to act and make it so that entrepreneurship works for young people and for the older generation as well. Now, I actually am very curious. You listen to each other. Do you have questions for each other? Do you have questions for me, for Jihad? Yes.
Actually,
Jihad, I'm sorry. I'm stepping into your moderator shoes.
Please.
But I'm very curious of their reaction to what is going on here.
Well, I worked the last year on few research papers on gender gaps in the labor market, including determinants and also economic costs. Well, indeed, the economic costs are very heavy for emerging countries and developing countries, also one in the MENA region or Morocco. Well, I think that to have a more impact on reducing gender gaps in the labor market, I think that referring to international experiences in this area should be important. So my question is, can the IMF recommend policies or programs that have been successful in other countries in terms of reducing gender inequality in the labor market, and which Morocco could use in the future, knowing that the characteristics of the Moroccan economy are not similar to all international economies? So what are the country-specific policies that may work for the Moroccan context?
It's an excellent question. We do a lot of research in this area, and we also work with other institutions that do very serious research. And here is what I can tell you. When you look at gender gaps, where they are smallest, not surprisingly, who comes on top? Countries like Sweden, Norway, countries where there are almost no legal obstacles to women to participate, and where there is a recognition in society that unless women participate, there cannot be a significant increase in standard of living. But even in Europe, which traditionally praises itself for being a place of gender equality, there are countries like Germany where labor market participation of women is lower. And you ask a question, why is that so? Well, it boils down to culture. It boils down to opportunities, equal opportunities for men and women. It boils down to, in many places, level of pay. When men and women are paid differently, man gets more, the woman gets less, then it's economically more advantageous. Go work, men, and woman stays at home. So how are countries changing? We learned of 3 very significant instruments of change. The first one is the law. Eliminate everything in the law that discriminates against women. And we have seen in Saudi Arabia, eliminating legal obstacles to women to participate in the labor force has led to female participation to jump, I think it is now 34%. That is higher than some advanced economies. So legal obstacles, the law matters, And it matters when the signal comes from the top. Japan, another country where there was low female participation. Then the late Prime Minister Abe came up with Abenomics, and Abenomics was about a couple of things, among them womenomics. Get the Japanese women in the labor force, pay them the same as you pay to men, create conditions for kids, so more kindergartens, easy access to schooling. And that is the second thing that works. Create easy conditions for women to go to work without worrying about their kids, and also make access to childcare leave equal for men and women. So the father can take leave or the mother can take leave. It's all the same. The third thing we have seen working very well is gender-based budgeting. We have trained, I think, 120 countries. How can a gender lens be put when you do your budget? Well, what do you look for? Are there free kindergartens so women can go to work, kids are there to learn and play? Roads. Are roads accessible and safe for women? Transport. Is transport safe? Can a woman get into a bus and not worry that she would be harassed? Yes. I was once on a train in India, Mumbai, women-only cars on the train. And I was saying, what is this, separating men from women? Why? So I bought the ticket, got into the women-only car, and I asked women, why are you here? Very simple. Harassment, fear of sexual assault. So budgets can make it easier for women to participate in the labor force. Have you heard about he for she? Yeah. He for she, this movement. Well, and men being proponents of women's rights. That helps a lot. So to the men in the audience, be feminists. It is good for you. Women go to work, you're better off.
Thank you very much. I'm told that we have still 5 minutes. If there is another question to Kristalina, please. Anyone want? Yes, please.
I have a question and then a request, if I can be greedy a little bit. The first question is, following actually on what you have just said, we've also noticed that, under the law, as long as the women are not at equal standing as men, at the workplace it's also the same case. And it's only up to the discretion of business owners of how they want to manage being, discriminating or not discriminating against women. And where this conversation has shifted in a positive way was actually looking at how can we encourage men and incentivize men to be more active outside of the workplace. It's kind of shifting the conversation around and talking about how we can support them to be more active in a role outside of just the workplace in a way that actually can support women. This was, one of the conversations that we were having internally and, amongst our colleagues, and it was a real eye-turner because it kind of accelerates towards change. If men have, an equal paternal leave as women, then, their role in the house, then they will be looked at equally under, the management of business owners, and it will not be such an issue when you look at, oh, do I want to hire a woman? Well, it's just it's going to get pregnant, it's going to be on a leave. What am I going to do? And then they kind of hit a wall. They want to be pro-women, but when it comes to decision-making and looking at numbers, actually, it kind of fails them in that sense. This is just to follow on what you have just said. The other request is that looking at world organizations and country support organizations, we have seen that a speedy ticket towards growth and sustainability has been partnering with local organizations that have a proven track record of supporting SMEs and tech-enabled startups, and those look like funds of funds or funds and angel networks, kind of moving more money towards the region. And this would be my request for the IMF.
Well, thank you very much. It's a very fair request. I think when we provide policy advice, we don't fund projects. So we don't fund this program or that program. But when we provide policy advice, we certainly can take your request under account, right, Jihad? So we can be more demanding that we see evidence that SMEs are prioritized, encouraged, and especially SMEs owned, managed by women. My very strong belief in bringing women forward comes from the categorical evidence that no country can be truly rich if it only rides on the talent of half of its population. It's as simple as that. So that's why I'm telling the men, be feminist, it's good. You benefit because income per capita goes up and your well-being, you flourish.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. I would like to thank Ahmed, Galia. I would like to thank Nadine, Taha, and Teslim. Ladies and gentlemen, the leaders of the future of the Arab world are here. Kristalina, thank you very much. I think you had, through this dialogue, the opportunity to see firsthand, and I'm sure that during this week, you will have several opportunities to share this takeaways of this discussion with many leaders that you are going to meet.
And a big round of applause for Jihad, who is the big promoter of young people and their access to jobs.
Thank you.
Bravo, Jihad. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry. May I take
Yes.
a picture?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.